Hey, future medics! Welcome to 50 Mils of Medicine, where we give you small doses to create big understanding. Without wasting time, let's get started. What do the different waves in ECG actually mean? I've noticed that many students hate ECGs. The moment they see an ECG, they feel afraid, confused, and already defeated before they even try to even understand it. But don't worry, 50 Mils of Medicine has got you covered. In this series, we're going to be breaking down the ECG step by step into simple and easy concepts so it finally makes sense. Let's begin. Part 1, the P wave. The P wave represents the normal atrial depolarization. This means that the electrical signals are moving through the right atrium and left atrium, causing the atria to contract. The atria is thin, that's why the electrical activity they produce is quite small. That's why the P wave is small and not very tall on ECG. We'll move on to the PR interval. The PR interval starts at the beginning of the P wave and ends at the QRS complex. This interval represents the time it takes for the electrical impulse to travel from the atria, the AV node, and towards the ventricles. The AV node has a normal physiological delay. This delay is very important because it allows the ventricles to time to fill with blood before the ventricles can contract. Once ventricular filling is complete, the electrical signals move forward, and that's when the QRS finally begins. We'll move on to the QRS complex. Now, the QRS complex represents ventricular depolarization, which means ventricles are now contracting. The QRS is much bigger than the P wave. Why? Because it's much larger. The ventricles are much larger and much thicker. They need strong muscle because the ventricles are pumping blood to the lungs, and the right ventricles actually are pumping blood to the lungs, and the left ventricles are pumping blood to the rest of your body. Because the ventricles generate much more electrical activity, the QRS complex appears to be taller and wider compared to the P wave. So, in summary, P wave equals atrial contraction. PR interval equals electrical delay at the AV node for ventricular filling. QRS complex equals ventricular contraction. This is what we expect to see in a normal ECG. If you haven't already, make sure you watch the ECG part 1 where we do a recap on how depolarization of the cardiac muscle happens because that makes it much more easier to understand. And stay tuned for ECG part 3 where we'll be able to look into the T wave and the E wave. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next lesson.